Edgar, could you please tell me a bit more about yourself and what it is that you've been doing?
For the past several decades, I've been working to try to launch a different kind of local currency that really valued people whom the market does not value and capacities that the market does not value. I come out of the civil rights movement, and I'm acutely aware that our schools are not reaching young people. Our juvenile justice system is putting young people in prison. Our elders are not valued. They're left either alone and in isolation, but all that they have to contribute is not valued. So I've created a currency called time banking that has now spread to some 33 countries that I'm aware of, where each hour is equal, and where an hour of my time spent helping you gives me a time credit in the bank of 1 hour, and then if I need help, I can spend that to get help for myself, or community groups can use it to enlist people on a group project.
What is the effect of this kind of financial system? How does it improve the relationships between people?
Well, a simple transaction of me helping you starts off with an isolated transaction. What happens then is that builds into a relationship of trust and friendship. So that in all these years, in literally millions of transactions, we know of only one theft by a teenager of a cell phone, and within 1 hour, the whole community had identified who that was. Once you have those relationships, you then build networks, and those networks begin to be braided together, and they create a kind of community. My hope is that we will be able to create global community worldwide, and that community will be able, in effect, to reclaim habitat and reclaim and help to maintain an ecological balance on this planet. But it will take all of us working together, learning how to trust each other, learning not how to live as strangers, but rather how to live as one extended human family.
What is needed to, would you say, empower this kind of trust?
Uh, I think that the key ingredient is memory. If I'm only going to see you once, I have a choice between whether I hit you over the head and take your money, or whether I treat you as I would want to be treated. But if I'm going to see you tomorrow, I'm going to think twice about what I do today. And if there's a collective memory of how I've treated other people, so that I can only gain access to other people if I act in a way that they would have, that I would want them to treat me, then I think that the creation of memory around transactions is probably the single most important feature in creating trust among strangers. There is another ingredient, and I would call that reciprocity. If I help you, you will, and we've all had this experience, we help somebody and they say, how can I give back? How can I help you? And sometimes we smile and say, it was my privilege, but we don't realize that the message that we're sending is undermining that trust, because we're saying, how can I help you? But the message we're sending is, I have something you need, but you have nothing that I need or want or value. And the only thing that you have that interests me or that is your problem. So if your only asset is your problems, then we don't make any inroads on social problems. So I would say trust comes with both memory, the connectivity that a medium of exchange creates when it links people together through a transaction, and what I'll call a pay-it-forward transaction, where I can pay you back by helping somebody else. And I think those become two of the critical ingredients, both to building trust and building community. I think that you need one currency to rebuild what I call the core economy of family, of neighborhood, of community, of civil society. And I think time banking does that because it signals respect. Very frankly, for me, that's the most important piece, because you're giving up 1 hour of your life. That's the most precious thing you have on this planet. It's your slice of eternity. There's a separate question as to how one apportions scarcity. Uh, and you're speaking now with neuroscience or special gifts at cooking to how price can function or other equitable considerations such as need function when it comes to scarcity. But I think that we all know that we live on a planet that can supply enough food, clothing, help, teaching, healthcare for each other. And so the issue then becomes, do we have a distributive system that enables all to share, at least minimally, in an equitable share of the abundance that this planet is capable now of producing? And for that, I think we need a currency that signals equality first and foremost and trust, and that uses price with another currency such as LETs or other currencies that follow market pricing that really value where price is determined by supply and demand, and where scarcity then makes something more precious and abundance makes it cheaper or worthless. But when you have if your sole method of valuing is price and scarcity, then you devalue every capacity that defines us as a human being and enabled our species to survive. That doesn't strike me as very intelligent if we survive as a species.
Could you please tell me a little bit about one of these communities where this actually works?
There are many places, and they work in two different ways. They work on the one hand around what I'll call community of place, of neighbors helping neighbors. We have, I'm sure, in many countries, people live right next to each other and they don't know anything about each other. You can be in the class of students and have no knowledge, even though you sit there all year in that class, of what they can do. And so when you go out on the street and you see somebody whom you've seen for 4 or 5 years, you say something and intimate, like, do you think it'll rain tomorrow, or who will win the ball game? And that's our notion of intimacy. So in these communities, I just came from Los Angeles. I've come from complexes where older people live together. We're working now in some of the most crime-ridden neighborhoods in Washington, D.C., and people reach out to each other and trust each other. I don't know whether, if you have children and you have a birthday party and your children invite their friends and their parents come pick them up, well, later on, if you see them on the street, you wave to them and you smile because they're no longer strangers. Well, time banking builds that kind of a relationship. There's another kind of a relationship that we call co-production, uh, and where, for instance, we run a youth court where teenagers sit on a jury to deal with young people who commit minor crimes. They come before a jury of teenagers, and the teenagers sentence them to perform community service, to apologize, to pay back, sometimes to a course in life skills. But they also sentence them to jury duty. So now all of the jurors, virtually all of the jurors, are former offenders. They have reduced repeat crime by these teenagers by over 50%. So it's teenagers talking to teenagers.
I think it's great that this system can activate a lot of resources that our current system isn't reaching in many ways.
I think all of us, I think there's a basic human need to feel that we matter, to feel that our existence on Earth makes a difference in the lives of others. And I think that what currencies can do, time banking, but other currencies help to do, is let you know that you are valued and what you can do for others, and everybody can do something for others. That's my basic premise, that there is nobody who can't do something for somebody else.
Thank you so much for sharing your great insight on this, Edgar Cahn.